Good evening, welcome to Quays News. We're live at 5, I'm Beth Whiteman.
And I'm Isabella Norrison. Coming up on this evening's programme.
Homeless at Christmas. We look at the hardships of being on the streets this Christmas.
Life-threatening. If people are out in the cold and the wet weather, people can quite easily die of hypothermia.
Remembering the Fallen, Greater Manchester's town's big turnout for Remembrance Sunday.
We'll find out how a running group in Monton is helping women stay safe while exercising this winter.
So we know that there are a number of barriers towards women getting physically active, one of them being fear for safety, one of them being confidence, and having a group just makes everyone feel much more safe and secure.
And Poppy pops on her dancing shoes to join one very special dance group.
We cannot express how much this means to my residents. They absolutely love it.
With Christmas just around the corner, the number of people becoming homeless has increased.
George is here in the studio to tell us more about this ongoing issue.
Yeah, good evening, ladies. Well, I think it's one of those things, you know, as we get closer and closer to Christmas, one of the leading supermarkets across the UK this week has released their online delivery slots. It's very easy to get excited about the festivities, but there is a very harsh reality. This new research has outlined that 30,000 people will be homeless at Christmas this year, and 4,300 of those will be in the northwest, so around Liverpool, Manchester and Salford. So I think when you hear that number and think in the proximity to where we are right now in this studio Media City, it's really shocking to think of those numbers. But I chatted with Paul Brocklehurst earlier today. Now, he runs a charity called Centrepoint, and they are a helpline for young vulnerable people who are homeless. And he told us about the harsh reality of being homeless in the run-up to Christmas.
So unfortunately, we are expecting to see a huge number of young people homeless this winter. And at Christmas time, time that people would normally associate with a really happy time and spending time with their family and having somewhere warm. If you're homeless, then it's completely different. It can be really isolating.
So I think, as well as obviously the statistics of how many people are going to be homeless, it's kind of important, I think, to recognise that not all homelessness is what we might conventionally think of as being homeless. It's not people who are sleeping in shop doorways and on the streets, but it's people who are sofa surfing at friends' houses and things like that. I mean, 20% of people between now and Christmas will be skipping meals because they're worried they can't afford them. And there's about 40% of us who are worried we won't be able to keep a roof over our head this Christmas. And obviously, a lot of students in particular thinking about rent and renewing property contracts for next year. A lot of us are beginning to look for cheaper accommodation. 47% of us looking for cheaper accommodation next year. So I think it's a really shocking statistic that, you know, young people will have just possibly up to £5 left after bills at the end of the month.
Thank you. It really is shocking to see how many people will be spending Christmas Day on the streets this year. Last weekend we saw remembrance services taking place up and down the country, with many towns and villages paying their respects.
Evie travelled to the village of Royton to see how they have been remembering their fallen soldiers.
Warm welcomes are spread across the country this Remembrance Sunday, as local parks are inviting their citizens to come and show their respects for the fallen soldiers. Royton, located in Oldham, has been said to have had the biggest response in years. This may be the new spot to show your respect.
I'm in my 44th year and I work with a reservist unit now based in Warrington. In that 44 years, I've served all over the world. And probably my most memorable trips is I was in the medical corps and I was second in command of a field hospital on 4 operational tours. Today is very important. It's very important to me because today actually will be my last time I wear my uniform and I retire next year. But today is all about our fallen and remembering the people that have gone before.
Over 1 million British soldiers lost their lives.
Now that I've been in the military for 9 years, it's nice to be in a really homely community. I've done other remembrance services with my units and they've been great, but coming back to what feels like home makes it extra special with my family as well, and my wife and kids.
Many members of the Royal British Legion show their support for their lost loved ones.
In the British Writing branch of the British Legion, representing my grandfather's 3 brothers who sadly lost their lives in the First World War.
This is bigger than last year's. Absolutely.
Royton, along with other villages, are determined to make sure that the soldiers will live on in their memory. Evie Rafferty, Quays News, Royton.
As celebrations for Remembrance Sunday have now finished for another year, Beth takes a look at why the 11th of November is so important.
Armistice Day is a date we all have in our calendars to remember the service and sacrifice of all those who died in war for our freedom. At 11 a.m. on the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, the Germans called for an armistice to secure a peace settlement. The battlefields fell silent, which is why we hold a 2-minute silence on this important day. Churches, museums and memorials all over the UK had tributes on Remembrance Sunday where a silence was held. The Imperial War Museum North in Salford showed their respects.
As you can see behind me, the red poppy is the universal symbol of remembrance and hope. The Royal British Legion held their first poppy appeal in 1921, which raised over £106,000 to help World War I veterans find employment and housing after the war. I spoke to veteran Scott Pringle to find out why the charity is still so important to this day.
I joined the army in 1988 as a boy soldier at the age of 16, and it was always my ambition to do about 12 years in the military, but I ended up doing 22 years.
What does it mean to you to be a part of Remembrance Day?
Remembrance Day to me it gives me the opportunity to reflect on those that have gone before us. People do call us a different breed of people. Don't know why. We are trained to do what we do. To be a community fundraiser for Greater Manchester is just another way of me giving something back.
To donate, visit www.britishlegion.org.uk/get involved. Beth Whiteman, Quays News.
As the evenings get darker, women face more safety concerns, which can create barriers to physical activity. A women's only running group in Monton is tackling this. We sent Maisie to find out more.
Run the World Manchester is a women's only running club in Monton, founded by best friends Becky and Lydia.
So we know that there are a number of barriers towards women getting physically active, one of them being fear for safety, one of them being confidence, and having a group just makes everyone feel much more safe and secure and can also build friendships as well.
According to the National Women's Running Survey, 47% of participants said that they had been heckled or shouted at while running, and 18% had said that they had considered stopping running altogether due to safety concerns. Therefore, groups like these are essential in creating a safe space for those trying to keep fit.
It's more of a community feel than me just running on my own, especially now in winter. Now it's dark, dead early, running around. I mean, I'd only run on the roads anyway, but it feels so much safer running in a group. We're also really good at making sure if someone's kind of behind in the group that people are waiting, so no one's actually running on their own. Sometimes some of the paths can be quite dark and people will be there with lights and things like that.
The group is really important for my safety. You feel very vulnerable being a woman, especially in the dark nights, walking on your own, running on your own, and the fact that you can walk with a group, with a pre-planned route is really important so other people at home know where you are.
The most brilliant thing about running is it's free and it's so accessible. So many people say, I'm worried about being at the back, I'm worried about being slow, I haven't run before, I'm not a runner. Anyone who thinks that, you're a runner. You just need to put on your trainers and get out. And if you're still super nervous and you don't want to come for a run, that's fine, you can come for a walk with us.
It is clear that sticking together is the best way to keep safe. Maisie Hall, Quays News, Monton.
Over the past few years, litter in and around Salford has increased. Ellie spoke to a local community group who are helping tackle litter building up on the streets of Salford.
Over the past few years, litter in Salford has been on the incline, with many complaints made by local residents. All Salford Litter Heroes is a community group created on Facebook to help clean up the streets of Salford.
I actually picked it up off Facebook, Salford Litter Heroes. It was something I'd always fancied doing because I was aware other people were litter picking. So when I saw it on Facebook, I got in touch with the local organiser who gave me some equipment, and it went from there. I mean, it's twice I've been stopped whilst I've been litter picking, and I can remember there was a lady in a car once. She made a point of pulling over, saying, "Oh, I've seen somebody else doing what you were doing." Said, "Who are you? What are you doing?" So I just explained it to her, and she was very keen to join.
Definitely seen a difference. There's not as much litter to pick up. It gets blown about in windy weather, so sometimes you find an accumulation in different areas, but it's mainly it's cut down on a lot. But we also, besides litter picking, we report any dumping of anything like fridges or furniture and that. And the main place I've found where they dump things is outside the Swinton police station, where there's a substation, and they actually dump it in that area. And once somebody's dumped one thing, sometimes it accumulates and they dump others. So as soon as I see anything, I photograph it.
The group also do community picks in areas which may have more rubbish to help come together and to meet like-minded people. As well as this, it is an easier way to join if you may feel nervous about starting on your own. To get in touch with the group, contact Lucy Renwick at salford.gov.uk, who is the Neighbourhood Development Officer, or join the All Salford Litter Heroes Facebook group. Ellie Johnstone, Quays News.
Our reporter Poppy Smart pulled out her best dance moves this week when she visited Dancing with Dementia group in Swinton. She spoke with many people to find out why this group is so vital to those affected by dementia.
The last thing you might expect to see in a town hall on a Monday lunchtime is over 100 people dancing and singing to their favourite songs performed live. But once a month, here at the Grand Palais in Swinton, members of Dancing with Dementia take to the floor.
It's a large ballroom floor, so we have people who are doing ballroom dancing, some people doing sequence dancing, some people doing line dancing, some people are just standing up and moving the way from one foot to the other. They are reconnecting with that song, reconnecting with their youth, reconnecting with their courting days. You know, so it is quite a joyful thing, really.
Many of the people who come for a dance are in care homes. This makes it that little bit more important for them to get out and have fun.
You cannot express how much this means to my residents. They absolutely love it. They make new friendships. They meet old people that they used to know because this is their area. So they absolutely love it.
In the UK, it's currently estimated that around 850,000 people have dementia. It's said that creative activities such as dancing and singing gives them another way to express themselves.
They've either looked after somebody who has dementia, or they're living with dementia themselves, or they've lost a loved one to dementia. So everybody in this room can show support and empathy for any of our guests who come, and I think that is vital. They can help on getting support and a little bit of training.
It was all smiles in the hall as far as the eye could see. This ultimately shows the impact Dancing with Dementia has, as it's touched many lives so far. Poppy Smart, Quays News, Swinton.
Thank you for joining us tonight on the latest stories.
We'll see you next week on Quays News. Good night.